Something that's been really present for me recently is this capacity that we have to avoid feeling our feelings by means of distracting ourselves. And I've noticed it in all sorts of varying different ways, but it's this sense of kind of feeling stuck or feeling numb because there is a resistance or avoidance to really look at what's going on emotionally. Now, to a certain extent, this is a really necessary and adaptive thing. So it's really important to think about distraction as this something that we can do to try and downregulate our nervous system. But at some point, that also flicks over into this place where we're actually genuinely avoiding looking at the things that we need to look at, doing the things that we need to do. If you take, for example, procrastination, I do actually wonder sometimes how much that is a representation of an avoidance of feelings. And I think we are marinating in a culture at the moment where we're taught to think, not to feel. My goodness, if I had a dollar for every time I said that. And so there is a real overemphasis on this capacity to be able to do rather than having to be. And I think distracting is a form of doing so that we don't have to be present for what's really going on internally. So distraction can come in forms like drug and alcohol use or pornography use or just doom scrolling on your phone or Netflix binges. And it can also come in, the more socially framed positive ways as well. Things like over-exercising and overworking in order to distract us from dealing with kind of potentially some disturbing emotional situations that are going on in our lives. One of my mentors always says to me that what we're looking at is where we're looking from. So if we're looking at work, let's take that for example. If we're working because we're really motivated and we're really present with what we're doing, it's a very different experience to when we're working to try and distract ourselves from something that's going on that we're avoiding facing. So again, distraction is a form of avoiding our emotional states. And so if we're doing it from that place, if we're working from that place of trying to avoid an uncomfortable conversation, trying to avoid feeling something that we really don't want to feel, and oftentimes that's things like anger, it's things like shame, it's things like fear, and just general overwhelm, you tend to find that what happens is that once we've dealt with the emotional disturbance, the need to distract then significantly decreases. But sometimes it's really hard. Sometimes it's just easier to distract ourselves and to numb out than it is to really face what's going on internally and psycho-emotionally. And again, like it is this idea that I always come back to, that we're taught to think, we're not taught to feel. We're not taught to really drop in and to experience our emotional selves. And so, yeah, I just wanted to put this out there so that we can all become a bit more aware of when we're distracting ourselves from potentially disturbing emotional energy that's coming up versus when we're actually engaging with life from a place of wholeness.